Lucas Reichel and TJ Brody are out. Ethan Del Mastro and Colton Dach are in as the Blackhawks face Utah in Utah. Join us for the pregame show next. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks pregame show. Hawks and Utah Hockey Club coming up at the top of the hour. That's 8 o'clock for those of you not in the broadcasting business. I'm Jay Zawaski. That's Mario Tirabassi.
Hello.
Sarah's here running the show. As always, we're going to hear from Andrew Sorensen. We're going to go over the lineups. We're going to talk a little bit about Lucas Reichel, who is healthy, scratched in this one. Before we do any of that stuff, we want to thank you for being here. We want to encourage you to please hit that like button for us and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page as well. And make your plans now to join us for the post-game show as soon as the game's over. The same crew will be in these same seats talking about this very same game, but we're going to know at that point what happened, which should be fun. We have a comment from Holly. I'm in a bad mood. Holly, what's wrong? Oh, Reichel.
Yeah. She's a big Reichel
fan. Well, look at it this way, Holly. You can't get hurt tonight.
That's true.
Unless he falls down the stairs in the press box or something. Yeah, he can be emotionally hurt. Well, that's the big news of the day. He is out. TJ Brody is out. Colton Dach is in. And Ethan Del Mastro is in. Let's hear from Andrew Sorensen. This was earlier today. And then we'll get to the full lineup after Anders speaks.
Looks like Arvid in net.
Yes.
Reichel out.
Yep.
And on D, who was the scratch?
Brody.
What did you tell Reichel? What was your message to him?
We're going to keep that between us.
Okay. And then with the line changes, what's gone into your thinking, in particular with Bedard's line?
You mean the change or?
Yes.
They've had good games in the past together, that line. They were really good in Tampa and that trip there together. And so obviously we haven't scored a lot the last couple of games here, so we want to get some production. So switching it up.
Connor's won, I think, the last 7 or 8 games. He's been 50% or better on faceoffs. What are you seeing different from him now lately?
I think the biggest thing is to put the work in, right? He's worked a lot on it in practice with Yannick and Planner and Kinger and just video reviewing it. And he's put the work in, and usually you get better when you do that. And he's taken some pride in it, which is awesome.
Do you have more trust in him and seeing when you see the numbers increase?
Absolutely, yeah.
You were part of the inaugural game here. What do you remember about that experience?
I wasn't here.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
But I guess the second time, now being in Utah, what stands out about?
Cool building. It's an awesome city. Just walk around yesterday, and it'll be. Heard it's loud here, so it'll be fun to see tonight.
What do you think about this Utah team, and kind of what's the game plan on beating the team?
Good off the rush, right? Really high end. They like to carry the puck in and make a lot of lateral plays, so you got to be ready for that. And that's probably the biggest thing here noticed.
What do you think about the young guys, Cooley, Gunther, etc.?
Yeah, they're impressive. They got a lot of skill. We know Schmaltzy as well. Had him when he was younger as well, and know him real well, and he fits in well with that group over there, so they can make plays.
For Bertuzzi up on the top line, what do you want to see from him to get him going? I think it's been a bit of a drought for him.
When he was at his best there, he was around the net a lot, obviously, and winning a lot of pucks back, and we saw that last game. I thought he did a really good job on the power play example for that goal, winning that puck and having on his belly make that play. It's a hard play to make. So just play to his strengths. He's best when he's getting pucks off the back wall and getting them to the net.
Has he been too far out lately? He hasn't gotten to the net enough, or what do you think?
I think it's been there, but he's had some tough puck luck at times and bounced over his sticks or around where earlier in the year they went in.
Kurashev was saying that he used the break to really mentally reset, and obviously it's been a trying year from him, and the last 2 games analytically have been 2 of his better this season. Have you noticed any difference him coming back?
Yeah, I noticed a lot in terms of like he seems to have a lot of jump, but also he looked more confident with the puck and he made more plays. But he's also engaged in battles, right, which was the biggest thing here. And noticed that the last 2 games, and he got rewarded for it.
How important is that, I guess for a player? Like he mentioned using mental coaches and just, like I think he's understood that side of the game, at a different level, and I'm sure he's had to go through a lot of problems. But I guess for younger players, how beneficial can it be kind of embracing some of the mental stuff
Yeah, I think it's huge, right? I think it's a big part of the game, and I think maybe overlooked at times. I think that some of the older guys that have been through it, they kind of know how to handle situations. But when you are a young guy and come into the league and handling the ups and downs, and also like maybe you had a lot of points in juniors, or like Kershaw, for example, last year had a really good year offensively, and now you're not doing that. And how do you handle that? And so good for him to recognize that, and it's an important part of it.
Anything with Colton? Any feedback you've gotten from Rockford where he's more prepared this time around? Or?
Yeah, we'll see here. I mean, he had a good last game with them. He was injured for a bit, but he's been up and ready and practiced hard here. And we need to get him playing the way to his strengths, which is power forward, kind of similar to Bertuzzi, good on the back wall. He's a big body, making sure he's around the net a lot, but then also defensively, obviously being reliable.
All right, that's Anders Sorensen, courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks. We appreciate that. And by the way, Holly watching at 1:30 a.m. UK time, and then we have a Chicago Blackhawks fan in the chat. It says 2:30 a.m. in Austria. I'm assuming he's in Austria, not just telling us the time in Austria.
Either way, that's great. Good information to know.
We'll take it. So we appreciate 2 diehard Hawks fans.
Yeah, salute to you guys.
With 25 games to go, still being here for the pregame show.
That's dedication.
Show them some love. Hit the like button for them. If you don't like us, hit it for Holly and for Chicago Blackhawks fan watching us early in the morning overseas. So I guess we just get into it here. Reichel's out. Scott Powers had kind of a random thoughts piece today for The Athletic, and grab some video clips of where you might see where Reichel made mistakes that Sorensen didn't like. And I think our frustration, if you caught the last post-game show and the mailbag show on Monday, was not that maybe Reichel doesn't deserve to be sat. It's that there are also other players making similar mistakes that seemingly are never sat.
Right. Yeah. I think they're throughout this season, both for Luke Richardson and Andrew Sorensen, there seem to have been some times where we'd say, like, what are you seeing out of TJ Brody? What are you seeing out of, other players that you were mad that they were still playing?
Yeah.
Mainly TJ Brody. But what are you seeing out of them that continues to, be what you're looking for? And, a lot of it came down to, just, experience in the lineup and all that stuff. And you got to keep guys in and guys all that. So now at this point in the season, the season's lost. You know that you're got an opportunity to give younger guys some opportunities to play and continue to grow in the NHL. And Reichel's still a young guy. He's had a lot of NHL time comparatively to some other younger players that are in the lineup tonight. But, it just seems like with him, Kurashev at times, like it seemed like they're more of a quick leash to be yanked out of the lineup than some veterans. And maybe it's just the veteran, deference to being like, well, he's a vet rather than a young guy. But I don't know. To me, it just feels like, and Brody is out of the lineup tonight after we were basically like making the point last game, like, why you keep playing him when Ethan Del Mastro and Nolan Allen are doing the back and forth of getting scratched each night. So at least, there's that where you're like, okay, well, there's some accountability, but it comes at the expense of Colton Dach is called up. And I think either you or Greg was just like, as soon as Colton Dach was called up, it was just like, is he going? He's definitely going in the lineup for Reichel. So you get an opportunity for Dach to play, but at the expense of Reichel, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it.
I'm trying to, and maybe I need to do this more often, but I try to take the emotion out of it and say, okay, Anders Sorensen's not a dumb guy. I don't think he's a mean guy. I don't think he's trying to make an example of Lukas Reichel. So what could his mindset be in this decision? And I don't know if it's a matter of if a veteran makes a mistake, for example, I don't want to just pick on TJ Brodie. So game against the Leafs, known power forward Eric Lindros clone William Nylander just out-muscles, out-bodies, and outworks Alec Martinez, forcing Seth Jones to take a penalty. And I believe the Leafs may have scored on that. Doesn't matter. The point is that it happened. It was a mistake from a veteran. Maybe the difference that Sorensen thinks with a veteran is it was just a lack of an execution, whereas the things he was seeing from Reichel were a direct disregard for system and disregard for responsibility. Fine. If that's the case, I don't know why that needs to be a secret.
Right.
You know, and I think what Anders thinks he's doing is protecting his player by saying we're going to keep that between us. But if he says, you know what, I saw a few things that put some teammates in bad situations, and when that happens, there needs to be a consequence for it.
Right.
Okay. I'm down for it. Like, I get that. Like, the things Scott Powers illustrated in his piece today did leave his teammates out to dry. The decisions that Lucas made left his teammates out to dry. They were stuck in a bad spot, and it ended up costing the Hawks, right? So that's valid. And it's one thing to just, I did what I was supposed to do and failed at doing it, is different from I didn't even do the thing I'm supposed to do in the first place.
Right.
If that's the case, I think it would be beneficial to the media. I know no one cares about that. To the fans, to know, okay, there is logic in this besides this young player made a mistake and needs to sit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a mistake. It is a complete disregard for what he has been coached to do. If that's the case, and based on what Scott pulled, the game against Toronto, that was the case, fine. I just think explaining it goes a long way. Yeah,
it does. It allows the outside noise to not be loud. It allow you give an explanation, and then you can go off of that. If you just say I didn't like his game, so I sat him, and then you're asked to kind of expand on that if you could, and it's just like nah, I'm not going to. Just going to keep that in house. Like that can being able to kind of explain a little bit can at least give you a little bit of an understanding of your thinking in that scenario. Luke Richardson was a big explainer.
Yeah, happy to explain
things.
Right.
Even if things didn't like they weren't great decisions, at least he explained why he did them. So that can go, that can go so far in the public space of understanding what's going on. Now, with Reichel, if it is a disregard for assignment, if it is not playing within the system, and we've seen this from him at times this year, we've seen the healthy scratching of Lukas Reichel at times this year. Saw it at times last year. And it just, I wonder if there is a tipping point between there's a double standard of younger guys getting scratched for mistakes older guys make at the same time and not getting the same consequences, or is there a tipping point of this is the player Reichel is, and the consistencies, the commitment to the assignments is a known problem and is not getting fixed or is not being improved upon. If that's the case, and this is now, two different coaches making those lineup decisions based off of what they're seeing from Lukas Reichel or what they're not seeing from him, at some point, do we say, okay, well, is this this can't just be a coaching problem. It could also be a player problem.
Well, this would be what, 3 coaches now that Lukas Reichel's played for
in the NHL?
Yeah, Colton Reichel and Colton Richardson and Sorensen.
Derek King mostly. I don't think he really in the NHL. I don't think he really played for Colton.
Yeah, if he did, it was maybe
it would have been King, Richardson, and Sorensen. Yeah. So yeah, I guess 3 really.
I mean, look, it could be valid, and Toyin makes a good point. He says, "Well, I think that Sorensen wanted to speak with Reichel first, at least. And I'm sure Lucas Reichel got the very specific illustration of what he did wrong.
When you don't take a shift in the third period,
Yeah,
you're having some sort of conversation with the coach.
Right, but I'm hoping that he was specific and said, this is exactly what you did wrong, and this can't happen, and you should know this by now.
Yeah.
And I could see that frustration happening. But I want to say, and look, Lucas Reichel is not a guy who's asked about every game, every 5 games, but he's asked about now and then, and more often than not, the comments back have been positive from the coaches. Like, oh yeah, he's working hard. We like him on that fourth line. I remember the first practice back after the Four Nations break, that line was still together, Smith, Maroon, and Reichel, and Sorensen said, I like the way they play together. I think they complement each other well. There was never any sort of like, oh, we're trying to get more out of Lucas, or we're going to keep him on the bottom line until he gets his crap together.
Right.
Not that he would say that. You know what I'm saying, though. You know, he just seemed to say it was he liked the way the line played together. I don't know. I'm hoping that at least the players have an understanding of what is expected and why, if there is a consequence, why the consequence is there.
Yeah, I'd imagine Anders Sorensen being a guy that is usually direct and doesn't word salad it up too much.
Yeah.
He's probably doing that more with the players internally than he is publicly with the media.
Yeah, and I know it's, we're probably being a little bit selfish and wanting to get, as much knowledge as we can, but I think we want that so we can provide the fan base.
Be able to speak intelligently.
Yeah, we don't want to, and I think I've made it clear to players I've talked to, like, if you ever hear us saying something completely off the wall, say it tell us. We're not going to be offended by if we say something stupid. Like I've said it to Foligno last year, I've said it to Vlasic, like, don't be nice to us just because you think you don't want to hurt our feelings or whatever. We want to be right. We want to know stuff. We want to make sure we're giving. Yeah. Not saying we want to give the team's message to the fans, but if we're saying something that's completely off base, we want to know that. And look, we got to do 5 shows a week. We don't have all the inside information as much as we'd love to. So I'm sure there's a certain percentage of stuff we said that is completely off base, but all we can do is give you the input that we have and the knowledge we work for and go from there. So it's nice to have more info, but the important thing is that Reichel has it, and specifically. So hopefully when he gets back in the lineup, and he probably will, because at the deadline they're probably going to move at least one forward, you would think.
Maybe he's one of those forwards.
Well, that's the other way I wanted to go with this, and I saw our buddy Tab Bamford kind of mention that today. Like, it's been 2+ coaches now, and we haven't really seen the jump from Reichel that anyone's expected. I think people like his overall game more this year, but the production still is not there. He's got 16 points this year.
Right.
Maybe this is a change of scenery situation. And if you're talking about moving a piece like Seth Jones, or more likely like Ryan Donato, maybe someone like Lucas Reichel, if you add him to that deal, can bring back a little bit of a nicer and more attractive return.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of options on the table. There's nothing set in stone that Lucas Reichel has played his way into being yes, he is definitely a part of the future. You want him to be. I mean, he was what was it, 2020? He was the 2020 first round pick. So you want your first round picks to be part of your organization for a long time and pushing it forward. And he hasn't necessarily been, that kind of player consistently since he's been in the NHL. And, when he was coming up through Rockford, looked great, looked awesome. Point per game guy.
Yeah.
Like, was showing all the skills that you got excited for as when he was drafted, and as he kind of got to North America and grew, like, was showing all of that. Had that one stretch, his first, season getting NHL games, where it was just like, wow, like, he really looks like he's figuring it out. And then it hasn't gotten really that much better.
Like Kane and Domi and those guys were all traded, right?
That would have
been the
end
of 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he hasn't really been able to consistently tap into that. So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get more out of a trade, or if you're looking to even just swap, change of scenery players, if
it's going to happen, you know what it's going to be, right?
Elias Pettersson.
No.
He needs to change his
Our
scenery.
DMs are coming true. Alex Turcotte.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because the Kings can't wait to get rid of him.
Some dude has been DMing me for years. Bro, I'm friends with Alex Turcotte's second uncle. It's totally happening. Alex Turcotte's going to be a Blackhawk. Okay,
Yeah.
pal, thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, if there's, something out there for, those kind of younger but not really getting an opportunity guys, or it's not working out necessarily, like, you could make a swap. You could add him to, like you said, like the Seth Jones deal. You could add him to that to kind of be like, hey, former first round pick and needs to change the scenery. We'd also like another
one
top
of those
prospect.
from you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's ways to go about it. But I mean, it's nothing to say that he has to be traded or he's a problem and needs to get out of town.
No,
like
not
there's
at all.
still, I feel like there's still a lot there to tap into. It's just, are you going to be able to get that out of him?
Before I punt on Lukas Reichel, I would really like to see him get a legitimate chance in the top 6 for a while. Like, we've seen it here and there. We've seen him on the second line. We've seen him with Kurashev for a while. We've seen him a little bit with Bedard, but like, let's just give it some time to see if it works. He's just been buried on the 4th line all year. And I know you've got to earn your chances, but I don't think at any point when anyone scouted Lukas Reichel, they said 4th line center.
No.
Play with a guy like Pat Maroon and Craig Smith.
Really hope not.
There's no correlation between those 3 players. They're completely different kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sometimes you don't want your line to be 3 of the same people, but this is an extreme example of that,
Right,
I would say, to have Reichel with those guys. So I don't know. We're running out of time for that look to happen if they're thinking about trading him at this deadline. What's his contract? Does he have another year left?
He got a 2-year extension, right? He got the 2-year, like 1.1 something.
Reichel's got another year at 1.2. I'm going to give him another season.
The money is
not
not a problem.
Unless some team really wants Lukas Reichel, which I can't really foresee that happening at this point.
Right.
I'm not really pursuing a trade. I'll give him until the next deadline to see what you got, because
Sure. Yeah.
I think he needs more of an opportunity, and hopefully, if they get a coach in here with some freaking experience, maybe the guy can find a way to get something out of Reichel. But I think we were all hopeful that when Sorensen came here, that relationship that those two had in Rockford would translate, and we'd see a little bit of an ascent from Reichel that just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So,
same with Kurashev.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, he's played pretty decently the last 2 games. Kurashev has.
Fine, sure.
But
had a goal.
It's more of the whole season kind of thing that hasn't been up to, I think, what we expected coming into this year based off of what we saw last year. And he's another guy that changed the scenery, put a little something in an extra deal. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
We didn't actually do the full lines.
No, we've not done the
So
full
let's
lines.
go through that real quick here.
We've got Bedard with Nazar and Bertuzzi, like
Those
that.
guys back together. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Foligno centering Tirabassi and Mikheyev. Colton Dach centering Donato and Slaggert. I'm wondering if Donato will actually center that line a little more often. We'll see how that goes.
I really like that line.
I like that too. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And Kurashev, Maroon, and Smith. So Kurashev in the Reichel position.
Mm-hmm.
Martinez and Jones, Vlasic, Murphy, and Del Mastro and Allen are your D pairs. Arvid Soderblom gets the start and goal. So these lines make sense to me. I'm down for these, considering
This feels like a stereotypical NHL lineup where you have, guys that complement each other really well. Your higher skill guys on the top. You have a second line with guys with a little bit of a mixture of things with Foligno and Teravainen, offense, defense, and Mikheyev's got some speed. And you have a third line that's hard on the forecheck, can play physical with Slaggert, Donato, and Dach. And your fourth line's got Maroon and Smith, old, slow veterans that can provide you specific things. Craig Smith likes to shoot. Pat Maroon likes to be physical. And then you throw Philip Kurashev in there.
Sure.
And hopefully he works out. And then, yeah, I mean, again, coming back to the defensive grouping, Del Mastro and Allen have played a lot together in Rockford last year and have had some chances to do that this year in the NHL. And I'm interested to see what they do tonight. And Soderblom in net gives you a better chance than Peter Mrazek in net.
I agree with that.
So
100%.
hopefully there's with Bertuzzi too. Like he's been on a goal drought.
10 games, no goals.
You put him back with Connor Bedard, who seems to ignite some of those players who go on goal droughts.
Weird.
Funnily enough. So if you can rekindle that, because I know Nazar, Bedard, and Bertuzzi were a line earlier this year that was working out. So yeah, I mean, there's as much as it's like we're counting down the games to the end of the season, there's still some interesting things to watch within this game. And, playing Utah is different than playing Toronto.
Yes.
So
I am excited to see Dach back. I'm glad he's back. I saw the Hawks published a video with Sorensen and Darren Pang, a one-on-one, and that's what Pang asked him about. And Sorensen was very specific in saying, I liked his first 5 or 6 games here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as kind of happens with Colton Dach, is that inconsistency sets in, and he kind of loses that aggression, loses the physicality. I'm hoping he's getting that message, because while him and Reichel are different players, I am seeing a similarity in that the message has to be delivered to them several times over to, hey, remember, be aggressive, play your game, be a power forward. I hope that Colton Dach figures that out, because I think he is a guy that they don't have a lot of on this roster.
Yeah.
Or in the system.
Yeah.
And if it can work out, if you can get him to be a middle 6 forward, that is a huge win.
It'll be Tyler Bertuzzi.
That'd be great.
If Colton Dach could be Tyler Bertuzzi, I think that's a win for him and for the Blackhawks. And yeah, like they could use a guy who's part of that kind of building block pieces for the future that can play that role. That's a big guy, can play center, can play physical, can play around the net, and has a willingness to do all of that stuff. And guys like that if they can find consistency in being able to be physically engaged in games and be able to emotionally be engaged in games too, which has been a thing with Colton Dach. If those types of players find that consistency, they make a really nice living for themselves in the league.
Toyin says, is Dach the next Roenick?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. I think he is the next Hall of Fame player for the Blackhawks.
Absolutely. Just him and then John Mustard are the next two
100%
heading to the Hall. Little interesting note here from Scott Powers on tonight's game. For those that care,
wow,
18 scouts listed in attendance for the Blackhawks and Hockey Club game. There are 2 each from the Stars and Lightning.
Ah.
So there you go. Interesting.
Lightning. Who do the Lightning want?
Pat
Maroon back?
Yeah.
I mean, do you really need to scout Pat Maroon?
Yes. What has he done? What's he done lately?
What is this Pat Maroon fellow we're getting? There's a lot
what does he bring to the table?
Oh, you said, oh, wow, he's not a really fast skater. Put that down in the notes. Wow, he appears to be a big fella. Yes. It's like, what more do you need to see?
Maybe it's the Lightning scouts. One of them is it's an apprentice, and it's their first game.
If I am selecting one of the vets on the roster to remain on the team for the rest of the year, for me it's Pat Maroon. I love watching the guy play. I think seeing a guy that big with hands that good is amazing, because you can't deny his hands are spectacular.
He doesn't have the puck a lot during the game, but when he does, like it seems at least once or twice per game, he makes a really nice stick handling move that you're like, wow, like if he could move a little faster, that'd be really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, just do this, go in a straight line, plow. It's time for the flying V. Put Pat Maroon in the front of the flying V and just let him run people over and get the puck to the net. I like watching him. I think he's been a good addition to the team. One of the few veteran signings I think has actually worked and delivered. So I'm here for it. If they don't trade Pat Maroon at the deadline, I'm not pissed about it. So
yeah, right.
Could be just fun to have. And I like 77. What a great number. It's the year I was born. It's a
did
good
you really
year.
like it when Kirby Dach was wearing it?
I did. 77 is a great number. Not enough people wear it.
All
Coffee, Bork, Chris Gratton was a 77, almost a Blackhawk until Dale Talon screwed up the fax machine. Dach, Maroon. I think another 77s. We'll do it in a post-game show.
Yeah.
We're going to be on as soon as the game ends. Make sure you join us on your way out tonight for the pregame show. Make sure you hit that like button for us. And check out all of our great stuff at allchgo.com, including the opportunity for you to become a diehard today. Still on sale? Sale's going on. $48 for the year. That's $4 a month. You can afford that. Jump on. You get a free shirt or hat as soon as you sign up, or $35 off a hoodie. Access to all of our great written content, our members-only Discord. We've got our St. Patty's Day merch sale going on right now, so check that out if you want to get one of those as your free shirt, or just buy an extra one for 20% off. And all of our takeovers, watch parties, all that stuff, 20% off on all that stuff too. So once you get your free shirt and attend an event, it pays for itself. So we'll talk to you as soon as the Chicago Blackhawks and Utah Hockey Club wrap up right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.